Good morning and welcome to PhotoJoseph's Photo Moment, the first 3 times weekly live show here on YouTube every weekday, not every weekday, every Monday, every Wednesday, and every Friday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, right here at photojoseph.com/YouTube or youtube.com/photojoseph. Ironically, they'll both take you to the same place. How y'all doing today? You know, I was watching MKBHD decided to do a live show this morning. You know him, Marquez Brownlee. He's got a few followers, like, what, 5 million or something like that? His live show had 30,000 people watching live at once. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's pretty impressive. So today we're doing something a little bit different here today, this morning. Just slightly, not too different. Hopefully it all works out as planned. So I've heard a rumor that the trimming tool in YouTube might be going away. So we're now working towards making sure that our live show starts and stops as perfectly as possible. We've got the timer back. It's one of these corners. I can't even tell which corner it's in. That was it. Was that one? Excellent. I totally knew that. So we got the timer back, and it's kind of hokey right now. I got to clean it up. This is like anyway, we'll get that looking better. And the photo opener goes away because when the timer hits 0 or sometimes shortly after that, I'll just start the show again. You know, I'll hit the thing and we'll start the show properly. But we're going to leave the preamble in. We're no longer going to trim it out. And this is going to be an experiment, and we'll see if people yell at me. But the trimming is a problem. It's been a problem. It's inaccurate. The process sucks, and hopefully this is going to make it better. Anyway, so we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. Good morning to everybody who's here. Andrew Burenless here. Let's open up the split here. Andrew, good morning to you. Good morning from just up the road in Salem. Awesome. I've never spent any time in Salem. I should come up there. Is it nice? Is it pretty? Is it lovely? I mean, all of Oregon's lovely, so, you know, it's hard to argue with that. Daddy MCC, good morning to you, and Donovan, greetings. Shane and Jake Guptill, howdy. Stuart and Sean Mark Nipper, my friend down the road or up the road, or you're technically down the road, aren't you? Good to see you. The other thing we're doing today that's different is we are again streaming to Facebook simultaneously. I figured out the reason that it was breaking before, at least one of the reasons that it was breaking. I was over processing Facebook. I was sending too much data to it. First of all, I was sending 1080p, which they started supporting, and then I think they stopped. It's weird. It's like all the documentation just shows 720p, but also I was definitely serving a much too high bandwidth stream. I realized that yesterday when I was playing around, and I remember that in my early days of testing, if I gave Facebook too much bandwidth, it choked. It didn't know what to do with it. I had to scale it back. So we are doing this kind of reprocessing of the signal, sending it out at 720p to Facebook. It's a super awesome thing you can do with the Pearl, and you'll learn more about that next week. In the meantime, however, we are just about ready to start this show. So good morning again, everybody who's here. I think we're just about ready to go. Let's go ahead and start this thing, shall we? Good morning and welcome once again to PhotoJoseph's Photo Moment. Good to see you all back here again today. Today we're talking about the Loupedeck. The Loupedeck is this really cool control surface thing for Lightroom. So before we get into playing with it, a couple of things about it. When I first got it, and I've had it for a couple of months now. It was supposed to go back to B&H a long time ago, and I think everybody forgot. And then I went, it's probably time to do a video on this and get this thing sent back. So it has to go back. And it is going back. I'm not keeping it, but not because I don't love it. I'm not keeping it because I don't do enough of the editing type that I would need to merit this. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. First of all, when this first arrived, we had Lightroom. It was called Lightroom CC, and that was it. That was the Lightroom. That's what this worked for. Since then, Adobe went and did this whole thing where Lightroom CC is no longer Lightroom CC. Lightroom CC is now Lightroom Classic, and the new cloud-based Lightroom is now called Lightroom CC. I know it's confusing. Trust me. It's frustrating, but it is. So it is what it is. So the new Lightroom CC, which the box for this probably still says, because you can't change boxes that are on the shelves, says support for Lightroom CC, is no longer accurate. It is supported in Lightroom Classic. It does not work in CC. Now that will most likely change. I've talked to the company. I asked Loupedeck about it. They said that of course, they would love to support it, but right now they can't. There's no API for it. There's no architecture for it. So presumably it will come, but if you are using Lightroom CC, the new Lightroom CC today, and are looking at this product, ixnay, you can't do it yet. Hopefully soon. If, however, you are using Lightroom Classic, then this product is beautiful for you. So I'm going to give a demo of it. I'm going to show you how it all works, but before we do, I want to talk a little bit more about the physical product itself. As always, if you're watching the show live and you have a question or a comment or feedback, just pop it into the chat room over here. Make sure you type @PhotoJoseph in front of it. That way I know that you're there. I know that you're asking me something, and I will do my best to answer your question. So, price on this thing, $299. Pretty sure that's right. Ryan, make sure that's right. I'm pretty sure that's right. $299. And it's which I don't think is overpriced if you are going to use it all the time. It is a control. The idea behind a control surface is that you have immediate dial control to all kinds of things. You got contrast, exposure, clarity, shadows, blacks, whites, highlights, vibrance, saturation, white balance, tint, and a bunch of color stuff. We're going to go through all this. If you do a lot of editing and you are constantly going from picture to picture, editing, this is going to be a huge time saver. So the type of people for whom this is going to be ideal for is people who edit at least a good chunk of their day. I'd say if you're not dedicating an hour or two into editing, and I don't mean taking one photo and fine-tuning it until the cows come home. I'm talking about I've got a wedding to process, right? Wedding photographers, I think this is fantastic for. So if you've got hundreds of photos that you want to do retouching to, yes, you can lift and stamp your basics across all of them, but or whatever it's called, copy and paste, but you're going to need to go into each one and tweak them. And this will make that really, really fast and easy, especially once you really get the flow, right? It's like typing, once you don't have to look, you just type. Same kind of a thing. You're going to really be able to not have to keep looking down at your hands. You know which knob is which and just go for it. And I think it's a huge time saver. I don't edit that way. I don't edit that much. So in that regard, I don't need it. My only comment on the physical device itself, which I think is beautiful looking, top and bottom, it looks very nice. It's all plastic. And for this price, I kind of really wish that it was metal. At least this part was aluminum. I think it would have a much better feel to it, a much more solid feel. It's a little flexy, right? So if I go in like here, it's a little bit flexy, and I just feel like for this kind of money, I want it to be aluminum. I mean, if Apple can sell an overpriced sub-$100 keyboard that's solid aluminum, then so can these guys, right? I think it should be aluminum. And $299 is the accurate price. Ryan is confirming for me. Thank you. So that's the only comment. That's the only kind of criticism I have about it, though, as far as the build quality goes. I think everything works. I haven't really beat the hell out of it, so I can't tell you after 2 years of use it's still working. But I do wish it was made of aluminum, not plastic. Anyway, so that's my thought on that. $300 price point, super, super beneficial if you're doing a lot of editing very quickly. Repeated multiple photos over and over and over again, super awesome for that. If you're not editing that much, then I think it's probably not necessary and you can spend your $300 elsewhere. Of course, if you got money to throw away, then it's a great toy to have on your desk. I've loved having it on my desk. I'm going to be sad to send it back, but not $300 sad, if you know what I mean. So let's see here. Let's see what else is going on here in the comments. Jake says, excuse me, Jake is saying, saw on LSP, that's Live Streaming Pros, which, by the way, if you don't want to know anything about live streaming pros, they, the guys and girls, saw on LSP that you get additional options like their Facebook Creator app if you add the tag Video Creator in your About section on your Facebook page. Wait, what? Okay, Ryan, note that down. That's bizarre. Okay, we'll check into that. Thank you very much, Jake. Always full of fantastic information. All right, let's get into playing with it. Why not? So I've created a special split. Now let me set up. Let's go back to here. I've got my Lightroom configured in a very odd way where you can see half of the screen so that I can do this. And now you get to see a split screen of most of the control surface. I can slide this around as needed, and you can see Lightroom up top. And I realize that it's not super ideal, but this is how you're going to get to see both of them together. So let's start with basic stuff. Let me go into the grid view. I'm just going to hit the G, excuse me, on the, actually no, let's take that back. I'm not going to go in the grid view. Let's go back into the library view, which actually I can do from here now that I'm thinking of I should have done that. Let's do that here. C2, I know it's not labeled. C2, C3, these are custom functions that you can program to do whatever you want. So is C1. We'll come to that one later. But C2 right now is toggles between library and the develop mode. So let's go into develop mode right there. And let's just kind of run through some basics on here. Let me push this up a little bit higher. Oh, I didn't quite calculate that well. There we go. Push that up a little bit higher. And if I want to do things like adjust exposure, I grab the exposure slider and you can see immediately the picture is changing. You can also, and I'll do this, let me zoom in real tight on the sliders here, so you can see exactly how this works. So as I'm adjusting the slider, you can see that that's going there. So yay, adjust the slider and off you go. If I push down on any slider, it resets it to 0, which is really nice. So if I go, let's take my shadows, say I lift my shadows, I pull my exposure down, I don't know, I adjust my white levels and so on. I contrast, let's do a bunch of them. Do a contrast, we'll do a exposure change. There we go. I go, let's reset some of those. Let's reset contrast. Let's reset shadows. I just touch that and they go. Or I can just go ahead and hit them all and boom, boom, boom. They all reset. So that's really cool. You can go very fine. It's nice and easy to go fine. Or if you crank it fast, oh, look at that. It just decided to autofocus. I knew that was a mistake putting that in autofocus. Excuse me while I reach overhead and switch the camera. back into manual. There we go. Okay, so there's that. So you got that nice little subtle, slow dial. See, slow. It's easy to get it one at a time. Push it again, and it resets it. So that's how that all works. That's kind of cool. Let's do a thing with colors. Let me zoom out of this picture. And so this picture, it's got obviously green in the background, this little red thing on his throat there. So if I wanted to zoom in to get a closer look, I can do that. Now I can't manipulate the mouse on here. There's no like a trackpad on here, so I do have to reach over to my mouse or trackpad or whatever. But but that's what the controls are. So let's see. So you got your zoom on there. I kind of got ahead of things. Let me come back to the colors. I want to do ratings real quick. So I've got a series of ratings here, 1 through 5. And if I hit that, it should say on the image, oh, it's out of your view. So let me do this. It says on the screen, set rating 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. If I then hold down the function button, so there's an FN button right here. If I hold down FN and I hit these, it switches to color mode. So red, yellow, green, blue, and purple. So if I'm going to have to switch to just the max, you can see it because it's popping up off screen. There it says, oh, no, that's the search. I lied to you. Here, this one. Sorry. My bad. See, I didn't use this function very much. This is how you switch between star and color. You hit that and it toggles. And on the screen, it says that it has toggled. So there we go. Loupedeck is using star ratings. So I can hit, that's 5 stars. Or I can hit it again. Loupedeck is using color ratings. And now I hit the 3 stars / green and it says set color label to green. The FN button, what the FN button does is it does a quick selection. It's a refine. It's select all of that rating. That's how it is. So it's select all 2 stars, select all 3 stars. This is one of my complaints about Lightroom, something I missed from Aperture, was an easy way to filter by a star rating. In Aperture, if you hit Control 3, it would filter by just your 3-star and above rated photos. It was a fantastically quick way to do that. The closest thing we have to that in Lightroom is to select all of the 3-star photos. So let's go back to, let's go to just the camera view. I'm going to switch back to the grid view, and let me make sure that I have a couple of other 5-star pictures. So let's do 3 stars. That one 3 stars. That one 3 stars. And I don't even know if I'm doing this right. So just give them a few 3-star images there. Okay, now I'm going to hit FN3, and it says found 3 matching images. And you see how it selected those 3-star images? So FN and the star rating or color, if you're in color mode, will select all of those. So that's kind of cool. Okay, what else we got on here? We also have on here, let's go back into this view, and let's go back into the editing mode. You have copy and paste for your settings. So if I want to copy the images, copy the settings from this. It says on my screen, you can't see it, developed settings have been copied. I can then use the arrow key to go to the next image and hit paste and paste that down. So that's kind of neat. I can very quickly go in there and go, yep, that uses the same processing, paste that in, and so on and so on. So that's kind of cool to be able to do. We like to be able to do that. Let's see, so that's that. Mark as a pick. So if you want to mark this as a pick, again, I didn't account for this. It shows up off of your screen, but that marks it as a pick, or you can unpick it you can pick or unpick, or FN and pick will flag it as a reject. So that's set it as a reject. Now I realize you're not seeing that on your screen. If I do it this way, so pick, remove flag, or set as rejected. We're going to set that as a pick in there. So that's how that one goes. Okay, back into editing mode. So that's that basic stuff on here. Up on the top, undo, redo. We'll come back to brush in a moment. Oops, wrong view here. Let's go to this here. Well, so you got undo, redo. We got brush. We'll come back to that in a moment. You also have full screen. So if we go back into, if I'm in the full view here and I hit the full screen button, it's going to take me full screen on there. Hit it again, it's going to take me back out. So obviously that's not something you can see if I'm kind of split screen, so I'll show it to you that way. And now let's go into the colors. So this is a really cool thing to be able to do on here. Let's pull this guy into view here. You see here it says hue, saturation, and luminance. And there's a little light, right? So saturation mode, luminance mode, hue mode. And then you have this row of dials on here with a color: red, orange, yellow, green, blah, 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 blah. So you got all your colors in here. Those, of course, line up with, let me zoom in on the Mac window here. Those line up with all of these. So those colors are, here we go, again, there's your red, orange, yellow, green, aqua, blue, I missed one, purple. I'm kind of looking at 3 things at once, and magenta. Anyway, there's your row of them across there. So hue, saturation, you see it changes into saturation mode. Luma, it changes into Luma mode. So if I know that I want to saturate a certain color, I can just hit the saturation and then start to adjust that there. I can play with my greens. What's really neat is that you can do multiples together, right? So if I grab all of these at once, and you would never do that, but I can do this. I can go opposite directions from each other. I think that's a really cool kind of superpower user feature to be able to say, well, I want my reds and oranges to go up, and I'm also going to pull my yellows back a little bit. And you can do all of that in a way you could never do with the mouse, because with the mouse, of course, you only have that one single touch. Imagine if you had, actually, I've never tried this before. If you're on an iPad, so obviously a touch device, big screen, I don't know if you can take multiple sliders at once and move them. I've never tried that. Now I'm going to have to try it. And I can't because my iPad's tied up. But anyway, but you have that control capability here. So that's pretty cool. Okay, let's see what else we got. Let's go back to this view. And let me zoom out of this guy. So let's pick a better picture since I've kind of messed that one up. There we go. So go to this picture. Other things that you have on here. Let's slide this thing back up. I'd skip past this one. So C1 and then C2, C3. All three of these are customizable. So one of them is a dial and two of them are buttons. Oh, incidentally, I didn't mention this, sorry. If I change the colors on here, you can see it just changed up in the view up there. These are also press to reset. So this little thing here is actually a button. You can't really see it move, but you can hear it, and that does reset. So I can spin the dial and push down to reset. Let's go back to the overhead here. So I wanted to show C1. C1 by default is set to vignetting, so I can just add a little vignetting or de-vignetting to my picture. So that's right in there. Nice to do. And C2 we already talked about. C2 switches between the develop and the library mode, but that's the default setting. C3 by default opens a web page, which is just silly. So we don't want to do that. But let's take a look at how to set these up as whatever you want. So let me go into the Mac only view. And you get a little control menu up here that says Loupedeck is connected. Click on Configure, and that opens up the configuration page, in theory. Come on now. Configure. There we go. Customize your console or continue with our settings. There's a restore to factory defaults down here, but this is mainly what you're customizing. The P buttons and the C1, C2, and C3. So you see you have your three dials here. C1 is vignette. C2 is library develop toggle, and C3 is open browser for some odd reason. I set it to show clipping the other day, and this is on a different computer, and it totally didn't work. I don't know why. I'm going to try that real quick here. If I hit C3 now, oh, it is working on here. Okay, so good. That's showing clipping. So now if I was to take my blacks and go, let's take this down. If I took my blacks really, really low, you can see the clipped out data. On your screen, it's showing white. It's not showing blue. I've never understood why this happens, but clipping information, the switcher just doesn't like it. So, but anyway, you're seeing the effect of it. You're seeing the clipping showing up in there, and I can just toggle that off like so. Okay, that's cool. Good. I'm glad that worked on here because it was weird that it wasn't working on the other system the other day. Okay, let me go back into the configuration settings. So there's your three here. These, again, you can make these whatever you want, but these are meant to be presets. No, I take that back. These are presets. These can only be presets, but they can be any of your presets. So you've got a series of presets in here, 8 different presets you can choose from, and by default, they're set to some of the default built-in ones. But let's change this to something more interesting. So let's go down, and I've got built-in like some Visco film presets. Let's go for these Visco film. I'll set this to, open this up, and let's go for like Kodak Gold 100 there, and let's go here, and it's a little tedious to do these because you got to keep opening up each category, but I'm just going to grab a few of these that are kind of random in here, open up another one, let's add one more, and let's do that, a Tri-X one, and we'll do one more just for fun, open this up, and we're going to go for a Kodak Gold Warm Plastic. Okay, so I've set these 4. Now, while I'm in here, I want to show you that because there's an FN button, you can toggle this. So every one of these has 2 functions. So you have dual. You've got FN plus C1. So C1 is the dial, is now set to noise reduction. FN plus C2 is library/develop toggle, which is the same as the non-FN. And FNC3 is open browser. Let's switch that to open configuration window. That's this window right here. So that's what that is now set to. Okay, so that's cool. Let's go ahead and done. Click done on there to make sure those are all saved. And we go back to the overhead view in here. And now, as I go through these pictures, let's see, let me choose a different one. Let's just go find something different on here, something that's I haven't messed with yet. Oh, I must have, oh, I do have images selected, that's why. All right, let's go to something completely different. Here we go. This lovely little cow thing or whatever that's called there. And start hitting presets. So I hit P1, and it applies that preset. P2, that preset? P3, okay, that was pretty close. P3 is a black and white preset. P4, another color preset. So very quickly, you can apply those presets in there. And obviously, once that's applied, you can still go ahead and change it. Go, oh, the contrast is too low. Let's lift up the shadows a little bit, and let's take the exposure down because it's overexposed. Except that I'm in the library mode, so nothing's happening. Easy mistake to make, whether you're a seasoned Lightroom user or not. Here we go. Now we're working. Now take the exposure down, take the contrast up, clarity up, whatever. I got all these controls here. You do have to be in develop mode, just like when you're working in Lightroom normally, which incidentally, super happy to see Lightroom CC. The modes are gone. It is demoted. It is now all in one place. Yes. Just like Aperture. Oh, was that out loud? Okay. Let's see here. Anything else to show in there? So that was these. That was the presets in there. Oh, you got a before and after button, right? So you just want to quickly do a little before and after side by side. You got that. White balance tint, we talked about those. Selections, we talked about all of those. Let's see, did I skip anything? Oh, I didn't do color black and white, but I think that's fairly obvious. Toggles the color black and white mode. And then export. So export, this is an interesting one. So I hit export and it brings up the export window. Okay, that's exciting. Let me just escape on the keyboard. If you hit FN export, according to the manual, it exports using a Loupedeck export setting. I think this might be a bug. So let me show you what I saw. So if we go back to the Mac here and I open up the export window, that'd be the wrong button. I open up the export window. You'll notice there's my user presets up here. There is one called Loupedeck up here. Go up here and there's Loupedeck, full resolution and web 2048. Now these are currently set to export to the last folder. Choose folder later. No, wrong one. Here we go. Same folder as original photo. I don't like that. So I'm going to say choose a specific folder, and I'm just going to put this on the desktop. Perfect. Onto the desktop, put into a subfolder, full resolution. Excellent. It's renamed. It's got its own. This is what it's all set to. That's all fine. Oops, zoomed the wrong way. Okay. Now, don't forget, if you make any changes to your preset, you have to right-click on that preset, and choose Update with Current Settings, or, it's not there. Web 2048, I'm going to do the same thing. Let's set that to specific folder. It's going to go to the desktop. Excellent. Let me right-click on that. Choose Update with Current Settings. Okay, so there's two things under here under Loupedeck. Just cancel out of this. Let me resize this window so you can see the desktop. And I am going to, see if I can do it this way. Here we go. Hold down the FN button, which is there, and hit the export button at the same time. So FN export. Great, now it's asking where to put them. Well, that's just dumb. It's not supposed to do that. Did I set it to choose later? Anyway, it exports one. It's exporting one, and in this case, which one did it do? It did, it exported the full size. Okay, this is very odd. This is totally not what it did yesterday when I was re-practicing. Let me choose a different one. On the, on my demo system. On my other system. Let me go back into export again. And it is doing this first one, full resolution, export to desktop, put in subfolder, full resolution. This should totally be doing it. Existing file, ask what to do, that's fine. Okay, that totally is supposed to have done that. Well, anyway, yesterday, so I'm telling you, it's bugs. What I expected to do, let's just talk about what I think it should do. And I tweeted them, and they haven't responded. Let me tell you what I think it should do. What I think it should do is all presets that are under the Loupedeck, it should export all of those with a single touch. So if you're doing a workflow where when you're done with a photo, you need to export a full size, a web resolution, whatever, different varieties of it, one touch is going to export those, whatever you've put into the Loupedeck. You can always just bring up the regular export module. But I like this idea of a single touch that exports those out into a predefined folder. So I'm working on some stuff for a client. I get to that picture, it's done. One touch, it exports 3 different versions, and I go on to the next picture. That's what I think it should do. Considering that it is doing totally different behavior on this system than it was on my system yesterday, I'm calling it buggy. Other than that, though, it seems pretty solid. Okay. I think it's everything. So that was undo, undo, redo, blah, blah, blah. Oh, the brush. I said I'd come back to the brush. So let's do this. Let me cancel this window and get this back to size. And then let's bring this up again so you can see this. Okay. You've got this little brush button, and you're thinking, well, what am I going to do with a brush? Okay, well, if I hit the brush button, it takes me to the brush mode. Now, clearly, at this point, I'm going to have to use the mouse to actually brush on the image. And let me change the brush size, make that a little bit bigger. And so I need to, have the mouse to brush on the image. But let's say I've brushed in this background on there. Now that that's brushed in, all these adjustments, or even before you brush it, but all these adjustments are going to control the settings just like they do on the regular mode. So I can say, all right, we need to take the exposure up for that background on there. Let's take the clarity up on that. Let's take the contrast down, whatever. All of these controls here, all these controls are now going to be controlling what's in the brush panel right there, okay? So that is how the brush thing works. I do believe, rotating crop. I didn't do rotating crop. Last one. One more time back into this. You got a little rotate crop dial here. As I start to spin that, now we have to get out of the brush mode. As I start to spin that, it rotates. So if I need to straighten out the image, and it's not, if I hit the down on it, it just kind of exits that mode. There's not a separate crop, like scale the crop. And I tried different things. It doesn't do it. No, it's just rotate, simultaneously cropping while rotating, but you still need to get your mouse out if you want to change your crop size, which is fine. That makes sense. If you hold down the FN button while you're doing this, it slows it down. So you can see the amount it's turning there. If I push the FN button, the same turn, it's much more finite, much more precise. So if you're doing really, really precise little straightening, you do it like that, and off you go. And that is all there's to it. What do you guys think? What do you think? Worth $300? Would you use it? Again, I think if you're editing a ton of photos in a session, I think it's a huge benefit. If you're just occasionally editing photos, it's just an expensive toy. I do wish that it was made of aluminum. It'd make me a little bit happier. It'd be very nice when Lightroom CC support comes out, but that is not Loupedeck's fault. That is them just waiting for Adobe to open the API for that. I think it's just a plugin API because there's no plugins right now on Lightroom CC. And then they're good to go. Complex Graphics says, I would. How's that wire on the bottom? Okay, so here, the wire on the bottom, let me show you that. So that's your USB cable. It has a little track, so you can have it come out the side, or you just pull it out of here if you wanted it to come out the top. And so that little gate in there just allows you to, that track allows you to keep it kind of really positioned nicely so that it stays put. That's what that is. And that's just USB, and that's plugging into the USB port on my computer, of course. So that's what the cable on the bottom is all about. No other power, doesn't take batteries, it just gets the power from the USB. Very lightweight, but again, I'd rather it be metal, a little bit heftier. But yeah, I like it. I like it. I'm going to be sad to see it go. But as I said in the beginning, not $300 sad. But I just don't do that much photo editing, that much repetitive editing like that, so it doesn't matter to me. All right, guys, that is everything we had for today. If you don't have any questions, we'll give you a moment here to throw in any last-minute questions. Other than that, we are going to jump on out of here and call it a show, call it a day. Thanks for tuning in today. It looks like we didn't have any issues with the simultaneous Facebook stream, so we've got that sorted out, which is super fantastic. Complex Graphics says, wait, only Lightroom, no Photoshop. Correct. This is a Lightroom tool, not a Photoshop tool. Yeah, Lightroom only. Hey, let's just go to their website real quick. I'll show you. Let me see here. Let's do that. Let's go to here. Let's go to Safari and open the Loupedeck webpage. And we'll see on here what it says. It's a nice webpage, actually. Kind of cool. Oops, get back in there. Loupedeck webpage. Anything we want to see in here? What is Loupedeck? It tells you all about it. Loupedeck is a photo editing console for Adobe Lightroom. Yeah, it's just Lightroom. They need to update this to say Classic. Anyway, it's nice little things on here. And there's somewhere in here, there's a full, here we go. Here's all the tools, what they do. So selecting main and so on. So that's what all these are. And there's more information about functions on there. Download your driver from there, of course. Very nice website, incidentally. But that's it. I think we are set and ready to go. Let's wrap this thing up. Hey, thanks everybody for tuning in today. That was super fun. I'm glad you were here to watch it. If you decide you want to buy one of these things, scroll down below. There is a link to B&H. Do get this from B&H if you would. They loaned this to me. We want to give them a little bit of love back. So I appreciate your time, everybody. Thank you so much. See you next time. Bye-bye.